The Orient Express to Denmark. Chapter 1. The First Game. This stinks, Rookie thought. He was in bed with the flu and said to himself, I wish I was on the baseball field. But he knew that was a lie. The bed was nice and warm. He could pull the covers over his head and sleep any time he wanted. The service was good, too. Mom, Pops, and Leo happily brought him anything he asked for. It was nice to be waited on, but he only wanted to sleep and feel better. The family was living in Copenhagen, Denmark, because Mom was on a special assignment for Blue Marble Champions. Their apartment was really cool. It was in a building built after the disastrous fire leveled the city in 1728. And it had huge old timbers sticking out from the walls and ceilings. You had to walk past the shop at street level and go up 2 stories just to get to the front door to the lowest floor of the 3-level apartment. It was exciting to live in a building that seemed filled with history and mystery, and it would only be a few hours' drive when the family did have time to go to Legoland in that town out farther in Denmark called Billund. Mom was worried about dangerous germs. Dangerous germs could be entering Europe from China and Southeast Asia. The virus she was most worried about could cause a pandemic. Early studies showed that it probably started in bats, but might also be transmitted by rodents. People and who knows what could transmit it too. She did know that container ships could be helping the virus move around the globe because ship owners refused to take the time and spend the extra money for a high level of security. Copenhagen was one of Europe's big ports, and she chose it as a place to live because she needed a base while she traveled from port to port to encourage governments and ship owners to take effective precautions. The family had moved during the winter, and now it was springtime. Even though very few kids played baseball in Europe, Pops was able to find a little league in Copenhagen, and Rookie joined a team called the Vikings. His coach was a big, friendly guy. His teammates were nice. He loved the Vikings cap. What a great design it had. But the team's standard of play was lower than his own Red Sox. It was so low that the coach asked him to assist. Woohoo! What do you think about that? Becoming an assistant coach your first year playing baseball. Rookie helped hitters understand that they couldn't just run to first and then run back to home. He dealt with things like center fielders watching balls drop a meter in front of them without even sticking out her glove, and with a left fielder lying down on the grass after his team got an out and not even standing up when the next batter came to the plate. Maybe being a coach is harder than being a player, he thought. Things weren't perfect, but it was still baseball, and baseball meant fun. Rookie was finally able to shake the flu and return to after-school practice sessions. He saw that the team's skill level had ramped up a bit during the 2 weeks he slept in bed, and he felt good about the Vikings' chances in their first game against the Cheeseheads. The Cheeseheads. He knew their name referred to the famous Danish blue cheese, but he laughed to himself every time he heard it. The Cheeseheads had many local players, and he'd met a few of them at school. They had even less baseball experience on the Cheeseheads than the Vikings, because the Viking team had more American kids who had grown up knowing the rules and playing catch with their parents. But when he arrived at the field that day and saw the whole Cheesehead team, he became worried. Those Danish guys are really tall, he thought. Then he added, of course, they're descended from real Vikings. But player size was far from the most important factor in baseball. Skill, knowledge, and attitude ranked far above, and the Vikings were shaping up very nicely on all those important factors. One particularly good thing about being in Copenhagen was that Rookie got to pitch sometimes and play shortstop, 2 positions he really enjoyed. Today, the Vikings were home team. He was at shortstop, and his new friend Ulrich was pitching. Ulrich started off shaky. walking the first batter on 4 straight pitches. But he got the second batter to hit a pop-up. Oh, but unfortunately, the third baseman dropped it. And now there were 2 on and no outs. Sure wish BR were here, Rookie thought. We'd aim for a double play. But if the ball comes to me, best to just take the force out at third. Smack! The first pitch to the next batter skimmed the grass straight at Rookie. He didn't move. He didn't have to move. All he had to do was reach down with his glove. And he did. But the ball hopped over it, between his legs and into right field. I can't believe this, he thought. I'm supposed to be the experienced one here, the player coach, and look at me. But he knew feeling sorry for himself was the wrong attitude, so he quickly turned and stepped toward the outfield to act as the cutoff man. The left fielder had been playing shallow. He charged the ball and tossed it to him. Rookie saw the runner from second, round third base, and he fired toward home. It was a strike, and it had arrived 3 full steps ahead of the runner. The catcher covered it in his mitt with his hand and tagged the runner. Well, at least I redeemed myself, Rookie thought. Urich struck out the next batter and then caught a line drive to end a scoreless top of the first. Rookie ran to the bench shaking his head, still displeased at his error. The first Vikings batter bounced an easy grounder to shortstop. Second batter walked, and Urich, who was batting third, looped a lazy fly ball just over the shortstop's head. Rookie was batting cleanup, and he walked to the plate determined to put his fielding error behind him. He swung at a low outside fastball and missed. Settle down, he counseled himself, and he then let 2 outside pitches go by. At the 2-2 count, he smacked a down-the-pipe fastball down the left field line, but it curved foul. The next pitch was in the dirt, and it almost got past the catcher. 2 on, 1 out. This pitcher doesn't want to walk me and fill the bases, he thought. I'm going to hit this one out of the park. And whoa! Just then, a dream of a meatball came in. The biggest, fattest, slowest meatball he ever saw. And it just floated toward him. It was the kind of pitch that Pop sometimes threw him when the whole family practiced in the park near the house. He leaned back on his right foot, lowered his bat, and swung for the fences in an exaggerated uppercut of a swing. He hit a towering fly ball, but it was one destined to land just behind the pitcher's mound. After hanging up there for the entire time that he ran diligently toward first, it plopped into the second baseman's glove without even making a sound. As the game progressed, Rookie made a couple of good fielding plays, hit a ground ball through the infield to force a run, and the Cheeseheads went down 2-1 to the Vikings. But he knew the Vikings were lucky to have pulled it off. Cheeseheads were improving with experience and would be much more formidable next time they met. As the players dispersed, Urich invited Rookie to stop at his house before going home. He agreed and was rewarded with a tasty Danish pastry and a glass of delicious Danish milk. Just before he left for home, Urich's mother and father arrived from work. They were very pleasant people, but clearly Urich's father was agitated. "Why are they doing this?" he asked as he washed his hands in the sink. Why would a ship captain divert his ship from our first-class deep-water harbor here to dock at a fishing port up the island, particularly since this Orient Express ship is arriving from one of the countries experiencing an epidemic that threatens world health? We have the best virus scanning in the world here, thanks in part to your mother, Rookie. So why did the Orient Express change its plan? I just don't get it. Chapter 2, The Big Game. When Rookie had climbed the long staircase to his apartment, He planned to tell Mom what he'd learned about the ship, but Pops said she departed earlier that afternoon for Rotterdam. It was a big and busy Dutch port. Leo was loafing with his feet up on a coffee table and just waved. But after hearing Rookie's story, he said, "Now, the only conclusion I can reach is that the Orient Express's captain doesn't want to be scanned. I bet he's afraid his cargo will be tested, found to be infected, and then impounded for months while it's fumigated." Pop said, "Oh, you could be right, and this is exactly the type of event your mom is trying to prevent. I'd go to talk with Ulrich's father about it, but I have to jump into a car and drive to Malmö, Sweden. And sorry, but I gotta go, and that's right now." "Drive to Sweden?" Rookie said in surprise. "But that's across the Baltic Sea. Won't you have to take a ferry or fly in a plane?" "Well, Rookie, my boy, the enterprising Danes have built an 8-kilometer bridge and a 4-kilometer tunnel that cross a narrow stretch of the Baltic called the Öresund. That'll make it a fast trip, and I expect to be back home from Sweden before your bedtime." After Pops departed, Rookie asked Leo, "So what to do? What do you think, man? Should we just stay out of this?" "When it comes to viruses and epidemics," Leo said, "nobody can declare they just want to stay out of it. Did you learn where that ship is supposed to dock?" "Yes, I did. It's called Dragor." "Hey," Leo said, "that's a small fishing village just a short train ride from here. Say, I'm getting an idea. Hey, Rookie, do you have any money laying around?" "Well, Leo, yes, I have some Danish kroner I got for my birthday, but I don't want to give it up before we build a plan on how to use it." The boys talked. Rookie dug out his birthday money. Leo threw some things into a backpack, grabbed 2 bus and train passes from the kitchen cabinet, and they set off to a shop Leo knew that was on Copenhagen's nearby walking street. Within minutes, they were on a train to Dragor. The sky was just starting to turn dark when they left Dragor's train station, heading down Fargavay to the port. They knew Copenhagen's airport must not be far away, since they could see big planes flying low over their heads. "Down that way," Leo pointed, and the two headed toward some trees in a park near the harbor. A dozen fishing boats were docked along a pier and appeared unoccupied, but at the pier's tip, huge light posts showed swarms of people, trucks, and heavy equipment. "That must be where they're preparing for the cargo ship," Rookie said, and only a moment later the deep sound of a ship's horn vibrated through their bodies, and a massive ship came around a point of land and into view. "You ready, Leo?" Rookie asked. "In just a sec," Leo said. "I found what might be a new tool. Give me a hand." Leo walked to a 4-meter-long, 1-meter-wide metal container. It had perhaps once been a trough for watering horses or cows, but had been repurposed by the Park Service for kids to make sandcastles. Working together, they dumped the sand out and dragged it to the edge of the water. "Here's where we find out if our ideas are all wet," Leo said with a smirk as he took off his shoes. "Grab me that stick over there, will you?" Rookie fetched a waterlogged branch about 10 centimeters in diameter and a meter long, and he handed it to Leo after he'd dragged the trough out to where it was 3/4 underwater. Leo started beating his submerged drum. "These vibrations will carry through the water for perhaps half a kilometer." Rookie said, "So what? What'll that do?" "Well," Leo replied, "if my guess is right, these low-level vibrations that don't bother us at all will have an enormous impact on rodents aboard the ship. They'll become agitated, nervous, and emerge fearful from their hiding places and scurry all around the ship. The captain and crew will see them and get nervous themselves. Say, how about you wait in here and keep banging the drum as I activate our new device?" The sky was almost completely dark, except for the lighting on the pier when Leo took out the sonar jammer they'd purchased in Copenhagen. He waded out to Rookie's side, stood there and turned it on and submerged it. Then Leo said, "My hope is the rats have already made the ship's crew jumpy. They know they're in a port that's inadequate to handle their cargo, and they don't have good maps of its harbor. That's my bet. When we knock out their sonar with this device, and they can't see what's ahead of them underwater, the ship's pilot and senior crew will rebel against the captain and threaten to mutiny. Any pilot or senior mate who is on the bridge when a commercial vessel runs aground has a difficult time getting hired onto another vessel." Rookie's biggest smile covered his face. "Way cool," he said. "So," Leo said, "I'm going to put this baby to rest on the sand under my feet and pull out my big gun." "No violence," Rookie protested. Leo said, "That was just a manner of speaking. I'm talking about my hologram projector. A few seconds before we left home, I loaded it with photos of natural objects. I'll start now. I'm hoping the images projected through the night sky will shock them out there." Leo aimed his hologram at a spot 100 yards ahead of the ship, pushed the red button, and a small rocky island appeared there like magic. Within seconds, a siren blared from the ship. A second siren erupted in pulses, and a moment after that, engine noises filled the harbor and white water surrounded the ship as it stopped and began to retreat. Heat from the engines and mist from the screws froth distorted the hologram and showed that the island was an illusion. Moments later, as the ship stopped, the sirens were silenced and the two launches were lowered 5 stories from the massive vessel's deck. At the sound of outboard motors and the glare from headlights coming from the distance, the boys looked at each other, wondering what was up. Within seconds, it became clear. Somebody, probably angry somebodies, was coming right at them. "Let's split," Rookie called out. "I second that," Leo concurred. "Let me fetch the sonar disruptor." "Forget it. We gotta save our butts," Rookie hollered. And the two sprinted off the beach without putting their shoes on. They were halfway back through the park when they spotted policemen and dock workers jogging toward them with flashlights. Light glinted off one policeman's drawn pistol. "Change of plan," Rookie said softly to Leo. They angled to the left, only to see a police car arriving on the road above them with its bubble lights flashing and siren wailing. "Toward the beach, but stay in the scrub." They were in a group of small bushes and approaching the edge of the sand when a bullhorn from one of the motor launches blared. "Stop right where you are." They didn't lose a step. A moment later, the sound of a rifle shot rang out over the beach. "Stop or we'll shoot to kill." And they stopped in their tracks. Rookie threw up his hands into the air while Leo wrestled with the cargo pocket on his trousers and pulled out his hologram projector. He aimed at the sky above, and the image of a blue marble reflected back from a low cloud. "What are you doing? Protect your life. Put up your hands," Rookie ordered him. Leo responded, "Only after I count to 5. Pops wanted us to have an emergency signal after our last adventure, and this is it. He can now find us through the projector's GPS." Leo had stashed the projector in his pocket and raised his hands only seconds before 6 members of the ship's crew arrived with weapons trained on them. "Hands behind your back and get on your knees, you slugs," the crew chief demanded. A man in a white uniform and a star-studded cap arrived. "You two are awfully young to go to prison for obstructing my ship. But sorry, that's your destiny. Follow him," he ordered, pointing at the crew chief, and they marched ahead with crew members guarding them on both sides. When they arrived at the launches, the captain pointed toward the boat's bows and told the crew, "Empty those equipment bags. These two are going to ride on a dark side. Looking at Leo and Rookie, he added, "You two dopes ought to know I could buy a car with just 1 hour's worth of the time this ship sits idle. An hour's delay in delivering our cargo is worth even more than that. Be thankful I'm not taking you out to sea and throwing you overboard. I'll just lock you away for a few weeks in a hidden compartment below the ship's waterline. You can make all the noise you want, and nobody will ever hear you. And don't worry, we'll give you a box of food that's left over from our journey. You won't starve as long as you like bread and water, that is." Rookie and Leo were forced into big rubber-coated sacks, and the sacks were then tied at the neck with a rope. Each of them knew enough to cover his head as the sack was unceremoniously dumped into the bow of one of the launches. Crew members were pushing the launches off the sandy beach when everything changed. First, thumping sounds of helicopter blades arrived from above. A moment later, light appeared through the small holes in the neck of the bag, and the airborne bullhorn blared, "Don't move. You're under arrest for violating maritime law." New sounds of police sirens arrived, followed by loud words of consternation. Then all went silent. Was anybody still out there? Ricky called from his sack. "Leo, you over there?" "Yeah, but with my head stuck under this bench." And then they heard something they liked. It was Pop's voice. He said, "Am I hearing Blue Marble champions talking?" Soon, each of the boys was out of his bag and standing on the beach. A police officer and a photographer came up to them. The camera flashed, and the police officer said, "You can go now, but you may be needed later to testify at the trial of these environmental criminals." Pop said, "Come on, guys, we're going home." And they all were soon in the chopper and headed down the coast toward Copenhagen. 10 minutes after landing at Copenhagen's ferry terminal, they finished the quiet walk back to their apartment. Pop poured each a tall glass of water, and as he put the leftovers from last night's spaghetti dinner on the stove to heat up, Rookie said, "Pops, it was sure great to hear your voice. I thought Leo and I were destined for a dark hole in the hold of a big ship with no chance of being saved. How'd you get to us so fast?" "Well, fortunately, I saw the Blue Marble distress signal as I drove out of the tunnel and before I got on the Øresund bridge. I stopped on the island connecting the tunnel and bridge, called Copenhagen's port police, gave my Blue Marble credentials, and told them the Orient Express was carrying contaminated cargo, and I gave them the projector's GPS coordinates. They sent me a helicopter, and the rest is history. A good history, as you know." Chapter 3, The Second Game. The three of them slept well and dragged themselves out of bed only in late morning. Mom arrived home just as they were completing breakfast and said, "You two boys are all over the newspapers and TV. The Danish authorities have already discovered the dangerous virus in several places on the Orient Express. Well done. You've helped save the planet before, but this time you led your own operation to save the environment and to save lives. If you would both please stand up, I have something for you." And she placed Blue Marble champion pins on their shirts. After watching his and Leo's non-smiling faces peer from the TV as a reporter spoke in Danish, Rookie dressed for the Vikings game against the Windmills that afternoon. Windmills, another great name for a team, Rookie thought, since windmills generate more energy per person here in Denmark than in any other country in the world. It was a good thing that he'd rested well, because when he arrived at the field, the coach said, "Well, Rookie, it'll be a big day for you. You're going to pitch your first game for the Vikings." The Windmill team was mostly tall guys, just like the Cheeseheads. "Good for me to have bigger strike zones," Rookie said to himself as the Vikings took the field. Again, they were the home team. As Rookie walked somberly to the mound, a wild idea struck him, and he said to himself, "Be anything but predictable." He threw his first pitch sidearm for a called strike. This first batter acted puzzled, as if he'd never seen such a throwing style before. Rookie's next pitch was a fastball, another called strike for this bewildered batter. Then he looped a slow sidearm pitch toward the outside corner. The batter swung about a second too soon, and Rookie already had an out in his pocket. Nice having a strikeout on your first batter. Changing between sidearm and overhand, between fastballs and slow arcing pitches, the next two batters got only the smallest piece of the ball and dribbled grounders to the infield. When the Vikings came up, Rookie was batting cleanup again, and he slammed a line drive over the pitcher's head and into center. Unfortunately, there was nobody on, and the first inning ended 0-0. At the top of the second, Rookie was still pitching, and he stood and stared as the Windmills' cleanup hitter was slow to arrive at the batter's box. He figured their coach was giving guidance on how to face his unpredictability. When that tall guy dug in his cleats at the plate, he held his bat high and wagged it around. Rookie decided to challenge him with a high, hard fastball. Pop! The ball hit the catcher's mitt right after a huge, powerful swing. Whew! Gotta keep the ball away from this guy, Rookie thought. His next two pitches were just off the outside and inside corners, and the same big swing simply resulted in foul balls from each of them. They just trickled toward the Windmills bench. Rookie smiled to himself, and then he uncorked a fast sidearm pitch for the strikeout. The batter hadn't seen Rookie release the ball. He swung late and missed it by a mile. Rookie turned away from the plate and walked a circle around the mound as the ball was tossed from infielder to infielder and then back to him. A pop-up and an easy ground ball ended the second inning, and the game continued scoreless for the next 2 innings. With the game scheduled for 5 innings, the coach gathered the Vikings and said, "Okay, team, hold 'em. It's only one more inning. Hold 'em. Then put on your hitting hats when you come back in and win this thing, will you? Let's go." The top of the 5th, and a little tired, Rookie lost his edge. Or was it his concentration that he lost? Whichever it was, he walked the first batter. The second batter dribbled the ball to the third baseman, who threw to first for the out, but that allowed the runner to reach second. Rookie was feeling let down by the third baseman's bad judgment in not throwing to second base to get that lead runner when he saw who was coming to the plate. His optimism sank as he saw who was approaching the batter's box. He held the ball in his glove, stood behind the rubber, and looked toward home plate, trying to summon up the energy and determination to outfox that tall cleanup hitter with a massive swing. He was worried less about a home run than a single or a fielding error that could score a run and sink the Vikings. He started off with his sidearm, but it went outside. He threw a fastball next, but it was low. He was determined not to give up a walk. Sure, it probably wouldn't make a difference if he walked him, and perhaps he'd be even better off facing their 5th hitter. Maybe he'd be weaker. But he was locked in on a one-on-one competition with this giant. So he threw. The hitter tagged his low outside fastball, but it spun foul down the right field line. Another fastball. This one tight inside. The batter hit it on the handle and bounced it foul along the third baseline. Another high, hard one. The batter didn't bite and let it go for ball 3. It was 3-2. Tension was high. Rookie's hand sweat in his glove. He could see sweat on the batter's neck. That could be the winning run out there on base on second. He searched for a strategy, a brilliant idea, any idea. But the door to his imagination was closed. And then it unlocked. Why not just continue with my game plan? Back to the game plan. Be unpredictable. But be unpredictable with a twist. The count's 3-2. 3-2, he thought. The batter knows it, too. He's ready. He wants to win the game on this pitch. Ricky was convinced of it. He accelerated his windup, exaggerated his step toward the batter, and lobbed a slow, ever so slow overhand pitch toward the plate. It arced. It started down. He liked throwing this pitch against Leo when they were goofing around in the park nearby. It was a good move at a critical time in this game. What was it, really? He'd know in a second. He'd done it, but he didn't know yet. The ball at first looked like it might go over the catcher's head. Then it looked like it might fall short and not make it to the plate for a walk. But the batter didn't care where it went. He wanted that pitch, and when he swung his gigantic swing, he missed by a mile and almost fell over. For the first time ever, Rookie didn't jog to the Vikings bench. He walked slowly as he prepared his mind for the bottom of the fifth. The top was over. The Vikings needed a run to win in their bottom half, and with luck, Rookie thought, I'll have my own second at-bat this inning. The Vikings' first batter grounded out. The second reached first on an infielder's error, and his friend Ulrich grounded out while advancing the runner to second. It was Rookie's turn at bat. Sometimes he approached the batter's box feeling cocky, but not this time. Today and yesterday he'd faced a whole variety of dangers, and he'd been under pressure to perform. As he walked to the plate, his mind was focused on nothing but the ball. He placed the tip of his bat on the middle of the outside corner of the plate. He dug in both sets of cleats and twisted them around slightly. He took up his stance and watched the pitcher intently. The first pitch came in, a slow pitch, a lazy, loping lob. Ah ha ha, so I see others can play my game with this lob ball, he thought, as the pitch passed over his head and almost overshot the catcher. Watch his cadence, watch his rhythm. Don't assume fast, don't assume slow, high or low, inside or outside. Hit what comes, so long as it's in the strike zone. Stop thinking. The pitch came in fast. It came in at chest level. Rookie strode into it and felt the barrel of his bat give a satisfying thump as he smashed a line drive over the shortstop's head and into left field. The runner came in, safe. It was game over. The Vikings win, 1-0. The end.